Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I wanted to highlight a build that was used in last night's European mini-tournament by none other than Conclusion. And safe to say, it did rather well, considering he took it all the way to the finals up against Math is Might. So that is what we're going to be featuring in this particular video. Now, you might notice that there is a bit of a different camera angle. Maybe there's some changes to the audio as well. I actually did a full, clean installation of Windows because I had some problems, and I'm pretty happy with the results, but you know, bear with me as I try to kind of go through all of my settings again. Without further ado, though, let's get into this one and spectate from Conclusion's POV. Now, the packs that we have to start with are going to be Aerial Specialist for Conclusion with Saber Arc, very solid pack, and he is going to opt to push on the left side of the field here into the magnetic barricade and the building, which is kind of uncommon. But sometimes you may be able to catch your opponent off guard by doing this, because typically you would expect someone to push on the right side. I guess the benefit of doing this is that you kind of get to use your own magnetic barricade as well as your building. Defensively, right, it'll be harder for Math is Might here to push into the left. So, you know, there is some reason to this, and I don't think it is a bad thing per se to try and do this, but it is definitely a little bit unconventional. Math is Might here is a cost control specialist with Mustang Void Eye. Now, Void Eye currently very, very powerful, but this pack on cost control perhaps not the most popular. We'll have to see how he navigates the early game. He does have 5,000 hit points to his name, and he is going to opt to go for a symmetrical defense. This is going to be quite good because I think he might have been in trouble, at least somewhat, if he ended up being fully on the right side, kind of pushing into these buildings. And he's going to be happy that at least part of his army goes over to the left. Now, this is going to result in a round 1 loss, presumably, because cost control specialist didn't use any of his 100 resources, I think, on round 1 here. And yeah, just going to get bulldozered on the left side. Very difficult to get rid of all of these tanky units when you're lacking the stats. And in general, ARCLIGHT Mustang is just not a great time into an ARCLIGHT opener like this one. And that's what this whole build is really about. Conclusion, throughout all of his 4 games in this tournament, built a line of ARCLIGHTs. And he often tried to kind of make people buy into Mustang. Now, of course, here he doesn't have to because his opponents already started with them. In the games where his opponents didn't start with Mustang, he would often go for something like a very aggressive double Wasp deploy on round 2, and kind of force the opponent to get into the quintessential Wasp counter, and then just heavily invest into ARCLIGHT. And you can already see that here, it's a very similar story. Now, Math is Might is going to opt to go for triple Hound here with the Incendiary Bomb upgrade. Takes the Marksman to have some anti-air, at least some more solid, like anti-air DPS, and a Steel Ball gets picked up by Conclusion, which he's going to put aggressively in the corner. But the main thing is, he's already picked up 2 more ARCLIGHTs with range enhancement by selling, you know, both of his buildings on round 1 and round 2. So all of a sudden, you're dealing with ranged ARCLIGHTs, 5 of them, most of them stacked on one side of the field, with your board of squishier units because of cost control, and, you know, Hound, level 1 Void Eye, Crawler, Mustang, even level 1 Marksman are all things that can die pretty easily to an ARCLIGHT if it manages to, well, you know, get their hands on those specific units. One ARCLIGHT is going to go all the way down here in the back right corner, and this is something that he's used in all of his games. Very heavy focus on the left side, right side, just a lone ARCLIGHT all the way in the back to try and kind of match the timing of the chaff that often is positioned somewhere over here by the opponent. And oftentimes just tower levels at some point. Level 2, level 3, even level 4 tower. And yeah, he's not really going to try and defend this right side other than stall it by leveling the tower and having this ARCLIGHT kill any chaff. Left side does end up winning, of course. The Incendiary Bomb round often does end up doing rather well. But even still, it should just end up with a round win here. The ARCLIGHT will clean up the Marksman. And the thing is, when you level, or at least when you give your ARCLIGHTs techs this early on, they tend to level pretty quickly when they have small stuff to shoot at. So already now, we have level 2 ARCLIGHTs, and into a board, again, that mostly uses smaller units. Those should do just fine. ARCLIGHT DPS is not horrific. And especially with the level advantages here, they should be able to take down pretty much everything so far. That means that for Mathis Might, the main problem that he needs to solve in the long term is going to be to find a tank. Now, if you see the setup, you might already kind of know what he's going to build into, because hounds behind the towers, these type of crawler lines behind the towers, kind of creating space here in front of your towers or beside it, is indicative of usually something like a Titan, often a factory. And yeah, that will likely be purchased with this type of setup. It also is a pretty good response into a board that relies on things like sabers and arclights. Now, the arclights are being kept, but the sabers are being sold. And instead, Conclusion is going to make good use of his aerial specialist here to pick up Dominion Core on round 3 and buy a Overlord. Very early one. There is a marksman on the enemy field. There are Mustangs as well, but keep in mind the Dominion Core does give 100% bonus HP, so this effectively is a level 2 Overlord, plus the 13% bonus HP from Aerial Specialist, and the fact that Mathis Might is a cost control specialist. This is going to be very, very hard to take down. And as you can see, Mathis Might, I think, banked some resources here to be able to afford a Titan next round, so this should not die, I believe. The Arclights got leveled, and even though there will be a tower debuff here, kind of a nice Wasp call-in from Mathis Might, he did pick up that spell. This is going to take a while to go down. Now, maybe if the Arclights die, this Overlord is going to be distracted for too long, but I don't think that's going to be the case. There are just simply way too many of them next to one another, so even if they have to tank that debuff here, it's going to take a really long time to take this down. The second debuff, though, maybe is going to be enough. I might have spoken a bit too early, as there is still chaff on the board. So yeah, the two 9-second debuffs are going to be enough, but we will need to see a more solid, I guess, response to this. Although, if you go for a factory, maybe you can just take down the ground first, and again, bank on the fact that you may be able to stall the Overlord for long enough. Round number 4, we see a very early spell pickup, Lightning Storm, by Conclusion. Now, there is some logic to picking a spell like this very early. Obviously, it is very expensive, and it's going to eat through your early resources, but you also get the benefit of putting it on cooldown immediately, and you will get it back on round 9, which might end up happening. You know, if you pick the Lightning Storm on round 6 or something, then you have to get to round 11, and that doesn't happen a ton. But getting to round 9 is not super uncommon. So, you know, if you want to get the double benefit of a Lightning Storm, it's not a bad idea to try and pick it up on round 4 if the rest of your board doesn't require a ton of investment. Improved Phoenix here gets picked up by Mathis Might, and even though he did bank, I think, a fair bit of money, he doesn't end up spending it on a factory. He feels like he needs to respond to the air threat first, and so he ranges the Mustang, and I think Conclusion is going to be quite happy about that, because he went for Shockwave on his Arclights this round. So, again, this strat really does focus a lot on trying to get your opponent to build small units, either by, you know, making them force to use things like Mustang into Wasp, or just generally speaking, you know, build air units that require these type of squishier responses. Nice Phoenix Tower take there from Mathis Might. He is probably going to end up selling that Phoenix at some point, but not a bad idea here to generate a little bit of tempo. Still, it doesn't look like this round is going to go his way. That Overlord is just way too hard to take down. And this time, you know, there was not the immediate debuff into the secondary debuff, and so the Arclights will just be able to clean up all of the Mustangs. Fortified Stang shows up here. Not sure if that's worth considering. I think the Arclights would still be able to get through it rather easy, and I mean, just look at this line of Arclights. It looks really silly, but the overlap of all of the Shockwave actually makes this a pretty valid setup. You just get to overlap the Shockwaves, and because of that, you kind of guarantee that the Shockwave ends up killing a lot of stuff as well. Range on the Wasps now. For Conclusion, he kept the Lightning Storm last round, only to use it now, which I found kind of interesting. I'm not sure why you would do this, because now you're going to have to get back to round 10 before you once again get that Storm. Pretty curious. Both players, I think, here decided to skip. And the range Wasp is an interesting one, since there are the Mustangs. But if you put them all the way in the back, then, you know, again, there's always that kind of flank defense that they offer, and you may be able to just get rid of the enemy Mustangs with all of your Arclights. Now, the thing is, that early Overlord baited out not just range Mustang, but also aerial specialization Mustang, which I'm guessing Mathis Might is going to be relatively happy with because it will help against the Wasps, but you can see that a large amount of Mustangs already died. Now, we'll say that that was in large part due to the Storm finally being used, but I'm still not convinced that, you know, going for aerial specialization there into even your opponent going range Wasp was that big of a victory for Math, because the Arclights are still a massive problem, and they are the biggest part of Conclusion's army right now. One Phoenix still alive. He did go for Launcher Overload on that, and decided to keep it. I imagine that we'll see a factory now on round number 6, and he'll probably try and get into Phoenix production right away. We do get unit reinforcements, immediately get sold. I think both of them just decided to pick, yeah, Sabretooth into Cell, which will give them 450 resources, enough here to indeed buy that Titan, and we get Phoenix production immediately. Now, if you didn't know, the factory will be producing improved Phoenixes. That's kind of the benefit of these types of cards, that whenever you spawn something off of another unit, it will also be the improved variant. Now here we'll have to see what Conclusion decides to do, because I do think that this factory is kind of expected, and we're gonna get a Hound with the Sprinkler, the fire extinguisher tech. Kind of curious. I'm not the biggest fan of using Sprinkler Hound to deal with this type of incendiary stuff. I think generally speaking it is better to go for just interception-based tech, so stuff like Mustang Missile Intercept or Sabretooth Intercept would be my favorite. So I think here I would have likely gone for Mustang with Missile Intercept if this was something I was worried about. But in the meantime, Conclusion at 4k hit points just says, well, you haven't shown me anything to be scared of yet. This round, you know, there is the factory, but let me just triple tech my arc line and yeah, see what happens. This factory, by the way, is just getting massively chunked right now. Right side tower, level 4, and although the board looks relatively empty from Conclusion, this line of Arclights just chewed through a factory. And granted, again, it is a cost control factory, but still, that's pretty impressive. And this might even be a victory, the way that things are looking right now. There's still a Wasp pack alive. Those Wasps do have range, and the Phoenixes only have Launcher Overload, so they can't exactly, you know, compete in terms of range right now. Well, I guess they have the same. No, 10 less, which could be a problem. That tower has been leveled, though, so perhaps it will be a victory after all, as the Wasps aren't the smartest there with their targeting, and they get stuck on the left side tower. Very minor victory for Mathis Might, which I don't think bodes too well for him, because this was very much a setup turn from Conclusion, and he managed to almost win it against, you know, usually a factory that is supposed to win the round it comes out against such a board of small units. Smoke Bomb here gets picked up. Very curious, I would say, for Mathis Might, because there was a Sprinkler Hound. Maybe, you know, the opponent would buy another one here on the left, and then the smoke doesn't do anything. He is positioning it in such a way that it avoids this one Hound, but I'm not convinced that that was worth it. And now we get the Raidens from Conclusion. Also, a little bit mesmerizing, I would say. I would not consider Raiden to be a great counter to Factory unless you run Ionization, but Conclusion doesn't. Of course, you will have access to things like EMP, and Raiden is not the worst into the Phoenixes, but it probably wouldn't have been my first choice into aerial spec Mustangs, but we'll have to see. Maybe this arc line can just completely demolish all of the Mustangs as it has been doing, and then, well, you know, the anti-air tech is not really a concern. Wasps are going to get beaconed over to the left since this tower has been leveled 4 times. It's not really worth taking anymore, and, well, having the Wasps over on the left, kind of arriving late, could be useful. The smoke does land, and it does not get entirely cleared up by that one pack of Hounds. Raiden does have the Dominion Core, which is perhaps a bit scary with the aerial specialization. If that ends up going down, the entire team will be evaporated. But Mathis Might here with the triple factory, just has so much beefiness on the board that, you know, taking down one factory was possible. Taking down 2 or 3 is a little bit of a tall task for Arclights and Raidens. And here we go into round number 8 with Conclusion suddenly losing a ton of hit points. So he really has to find a way to somehow take these guys out. More chaff gets purchased. And from the cards, just a missile strike for both players. Now, interestingly, I think Wasp Swarm was back off cooldown last round for Mathis Might, but he didn't end up using it. And he is going to end up trying to missile this Wasp pack, it seems. You can do some pretty interesting stuff here, probably, with a Wasp Swarm in the back, try and missile that Wasp and then get that tower. This one is level 1 still, even though the right one got leveled a ton. But instead he puts the Wasp over here, which I don't quite understand. It's the same play, and you do hit a level 2 Wasp, but taking that out doesn't really give you anything, because this tower is never going to die to a level 1 Wasp pack, and even if it did, it would only give you 3 seconds of debuff. Okay, he adds a Steel Ball to it, but same thing. Taking down this tower isn't that valuable. It's really this secondary debuff that you'd be fighting for. We get Mechanical Division Ball with ball production on the factories, which usually is a decent tech, but I wonder if range enhancement here would have been better. We do get EMP on the Raiden, which I imagine is kind of expected at this point, a Hound to clean up that smoke. And I just wonder if Steel Ball production here is really the way to go. There's also another factory on the right. Perhaps Mathis might is a bit afraid that he's going to get pushed. Over here, his tower is not that well defended, and it is still level 1, so it would be very worthwhile for Conclusion to take. But, you know, defending it in this manner does mean that you kind of strand a factory in Narnia. I guess if you're spawning, though, it's not a bad thing, because you're just going to get a lot of value out of all of the spawns that are happening on this side of the field. Wasps will manage to take down that Arclight. The Steel Balls will take down the tower, but most of the factories at this point have already been locked onto. A cheeky little fire play there in the back from Conclusion. And is he going to be able to take down enough of the factories here? I do think he is. Looks like he might end up losing, especially with this tower falling. But he, at the very least, made sure that there was not enough material on the board to die. Still, dealing with factories with level 1 Raidens is definitely a scary preposition. And now, round number 9, 25 hit points to his name. Is the Arclight line going to be defeated? We get Shane on the Raiden. So he is going all out, but again, usually when you do this, you have ionization on the bar. Link Sledge going to get purchased now for Mathis Might with the 3rd production tech on the bar. And the thing about Linked Sledge is that it's just very nice for the additional tankiness. Typically, Raiden doesn't deal with it too well. The only issue, I guess, is that the Raidens have been dying last, and they are going to be applying EMP as well to the sledgehammers. So I'm not sure how worthwhile this is. And perhaps you would want to just photon coating your factories at this point. We're going to get 2 more factories on the right side. So Mathis might really trying to just pressure the right, even though that tower is leveled, and try to make sure he spawns as many units as possible. The only problem still is that the Phoenixes that he spawns only have overload. And I think it might be worth at this stage to perhaps range them, since that would put them behind the factories and maybe allow them to survive a bit longer against the Raidens, which at this point are just able to, you know, pick them off and, yeah, make sure that the anti-air isn't the best. Also, I think next round will be the round that Storm comes back. So if somehow Conclusion here manages to survive, that might be a bit scary. Right side does get attacked. Sledgehammer on the flank, not surviving. Doesn't get the benefit of that tech while it's spawning in. And so instantly goes down. The right side tower, despite being under attack, still holding. And Mathis Might very much stranded on that side. The left side not going well at all. The leveled Raidens all of a sudden, with the help of the Arclights, able to take down all of the factories. I think the EMP is certainly helping a lot. And Conclusion is going to manage to make this go to round number 10, meaning that he will have access again to his Storm. So, despite almost dying, the Raidens have come online, and, well, we all know how powerful this unit can be once it's triple teched with EMP and applying EMP to basically everything on screen. So Conclusion fighting back, and Mathis Might now down to 2k. Round number 10, indeed, Lightning Storm is back off cooldown, and not the most impactful cards here. We do get Advanced Power System for both. Kind of hard to use the other stuff, I guess. You could maybe consider something like Portable Shield or Super Heavy Armor for Conclusion on one of the Raidens, as he does have double attack, double defense enhancement, and, well, killing the Raidens has been a little bit of a problem so far for Mathis Might. But yeah, this Lightning Storm, a little bit scary. We get a lot of bubbles on the left side, some very far back ones, because the main thing he has to make sure here is that the bubbles don't instantly break to the Raidens, and, well, to ensure that his Mustangs survive, because otherwise everything is going to get locked onto. Right side, more Raidens for Conclusion. He finally does kind of try to deal with that. We get range on the Phoenixes. We try to get an insta-lock here, but this is going to take a really long time. The Steel Ball has been sold in the corner, and level 1 Phoenix, even if it's improved, is going to take years to, you know, get rid of this 131,000 HP research center. Especially with the right side likely going down pretty quick, I'm not convinced it's going to be able to get the job done. More crawlers get picked up. Underground has been purchased, or I guess Subterranean Blitz. We are going to get more missiles here as well. So on top of probably not being able to get through the shield, that one missile will simply be able to take down the Phoenix. And I think the right side has been adequately dealt with, or at least is going to be adequately stalling. Here comes that Storm, and it's doing a massive amount of work. Some of the Mustangs are still alive, but all of the factories with the triple tech are being EMP'd. And this is not looking good at all for Mathis Might. I think this might even be game if all of these Raidens survive. The Mustangs are trying to do what they can, but the arc line with the triple tech, the range, the elite, the shockwave is just completely overwhelming. The final factory falls, and with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Raidens still alive, that is going to be more than enough for Conclusion to claim victory on 25 hit points and get that EU mini title. Interesting build. Again, he did this in all of his games. This line of Arclights, very heavy early Arclight investment, trying to bait out the Mustang. In some of his games, if his opponent didn't have Mustang, he would go for a really early, like, double Wasp, like round 2, and try to push often the other side of the tower, or the other side of the map, and try and make sure that the opponent would buy, you know, squishy Wasp counters that Arclights are good into, and then just fully commit to that, and eventually just pick some type of air units to pair alongside the Arclights. Now, I will say that I'm not the biggest fan of the Raiden line, and Mathis Might definitely could have won. You know, something goes slightly different this game, and you would find 25 hit points. As for what Mathis Might should have done, I probably want to go back to something like round number 8, where Conclusion had 1,600 hit points remaining, and this missile strike shows up, because I just don't really like this play on the left side so much. It's not worth attacking that tower, and I think you might be able to just do something a little cheeky here by trying to get rid of this Wasp and at the same time attacking the tower, because this missile is in the wrong spot to be able to defend it. And, you know, if that falls, it's 9 seconds of debuff. That should probably be enough. You definitely want a loan here, temp range, temp speed. You definitely want a shield because there is the missile strike that was offered, and, well, if your Mustangs die, you're going to be pretty sad overall, I would say. Maybe we want to just range the factories. I think that is a little bit better. You could level up this tower if you really want to. I don't think the marksman is necessary. I wouldn't be too upset selling that. And, I mean, what else do we want to do? I probably would like to have range on my Phoenix, but I won't be able to buy a Phoenix right now and afford that. So that's not going to be possible, I think. Probably could do it if you went first, but I don't think it matters so much. Could go for oil as well. It's not that important, I think, at this stage. You could just go for like something like this and then double crawler. Like get the double attack going. Put a crawler here. Maybe put a crawler there as well. See what happens. The benefit of going for the shields to protect against the missile strike is also that it does actually block this oil play. Which I guess is a little bit curious, and yeah, the Wasps do simply get in. That will be a tower debuff, and I have to imagine that this will just be enough. The factories also don't get immediately EMP'd, which is lovely, and this Dominion core Raiden, once it goes down, just explodes the entire team, and that would have been more than enough to secure the victory. So, yeah. There's definitely some other stuff that you can do as well. I think that, you know, going for a lot of spawn techs into Raiden didn't make that much sense. If you were already into spawn techs, then, you know, whatever. But when you see the Raiden here, I think you just kind of want to try and get range on the War Factory, maybe like photon coating preemptively with the use of a Farseer, something along those lines to prevent really the only line that is scary here, which is that electromagnetic shot. Because Raidens can't kill factories fast without ionization, and it's not on the bar, so the only thing you have to worry about is losing your techs, which, you know, you can avoid by just having more range, or by going for something like photon coating. In this case, also like trying to go for these type of tower takes when the left side is, you know, 4 levels into the tower would be able to get you a victory. It is an interesting line though, and well, it is an interesting line, you know, both literally and figuratively, as it did very, very well. It managed to win the advanced group of the mini tournament, and it's a pretty simple build to get into. So yeah, feel free to try it out and see if it, you know, gets some nice results for yourself. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and leave in the comments below what you thought about it and whether you've seen, you know, an arc line like this before. And if you've tried it, has it worked for you? If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.